On December 10th, 2021, two siblings, Crizzle Gwyn, 18, and Crizule Boy, 16, Maguad, were found dead inside their home in the town of Malang, North Cotabato. It seemed like a textbook home invasion gone wrong, but things soon took a darker turn as evidence began to mount, revealing that the true perpetrators were not strangers, but a person much closer to home. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're taking a look at the heartbreaking story of the Maguad siblings, two young lives taken too soon in a brutal act of violence that shocked a community and raised questions about kindness, trust, and betrayal. The Maguad family was well respected in their community. Both parents were educators. Cruz Maguad was a teacher, while his wife Lavella was a vice principal. The two were quite dedicated to their students and their children. Gwyn and her younger brother Boy were both known for their intelligence and kindness. Gwyn was in nursing school while Boy was a senior in high school, dreaming of becoming an architect one day. No one expected that their happy, tight-knit family would soon experience unimaginable sorrow. On December 10th, 2021, Cruz and his wife Lavella went to work as usual while their two children, along with their recently adopted 17-year-old daughter Janice, stayed at home. Though it seemed like an ordinary day, something significant had happened. That day was the first time that Janice had called Cruz and Lavella Mom and Dad. A happy start to an ordinary day. At around 2:58 p.m., Cruz received information from a fellow teacher that his house was getting ransacked by home invaders. He immediately rushed home, arriving at 3:15 p.m. He noticed that the house was quiet, the front door was locked. By the door, he found his son's blanket with blood on it, as well as a blood-stained knife. He started shouting his children's names, knocking on the doors and windows. When Cruz didn't get any response, he ran to the back of the house where he was finally able to enter through the kitchen, only to discover the lifeless bodies of Gwyn and Boy. Gwyn, whose head was covered with a towel, had multiple stab wounds and bruises, while Boy was tied up and gagged, showing similar horrific injuries. The crime scene revealed broken bottles, 2 kitchen knives, 2 butcher knives, a hammer, and a baseball bat. Amidst his shock and crying, Cruz suddenly heard screams coming from one of the bedrooms. It was his adopted daughter, Janice, the only survivor. He ran to the bedroom but found the door locked. When he couldn't get her to open it, Cruz ran out of the house to get the police. After some time, the police was finally able to convince Janice to open the door. Her hair was soaking wet, a detail that even Cruz in his panic couldn't help but notice. According to Janice's initial statement, 3 men suddenly entered the house and started hurting Boy. Both she and Gwyn were inside Gwyn's room studying when they heard Boy shout, so they ran out to check what was happening. Upon seeing her brother getting harmed, Gwyn ran towards the group to try and help Boy, which led to one of the men grabbing hold of her. Janice remained where she was, in shock, as she saw both of the siblings getting murdered. She then ran towards one of the nearby rooms and locked the door. Janice didn't know what to do. She was afraid to make a call in case the men heard her, so she started posting on Facebook asking for help. "Guys, please help me. Our house has been invaded. I don't want to die yet. I'm hiding in the room." And then later, she took a shower in order to help calm herself down. Interestingly enough, Janice deleted the posts minutes after putting them online. She also changed her username. Autopsy results showed that the two siblings had been stabbed more than 30 times. The coroner determined that Gwyn was most likely killed first. Her blood had already partially coagulated, and rigor mortis had started to set in. In comparison, Boy's blood appeared fresher. This was inconsistent with what Janice had reported, but it's possible that she was confused and in shock. The police initially thought that this was a botched robbery. The house was a mess. Cabinets and drawers were all open. The Maguad's personal belongings were scattered all over, However, the killers seemed angry and full of hate based on the amount of torture the siblings went through. What was surprising, though, was that the baseball bat and the hammer used to beat the two teenagers belonged to the Maguads. In fact, these two items were hidden, and only the family members knew where they were stored. Moreover, nothing was missing in the house except for Gwyn's phone. The police started to sense that something was off, so they created a special investigation unit to handle the case. It didn't take long before they learned that a delivery rider had arrived at the house at 2:45 p.m. Neighbors stated that someone asked directions to the Maguad's house because of a package delivery. When the police found the delivery rider, he stated that he tried calling the house when he arrived, but no one answered. He did mention that he noticed a girl who sneaked a peek through the door, but she ignored him and immediately closed the door. That's not all they discovered. The room Janice was in looked like it had been ransacked. But how could they have done this if the door was locked? And even if they had, how could the perpetrators have missed Janice hiding under the bed? In addition, outside the house, the police found a blood-stained shirt that had been discarded. 100 meters from the house, they also discovered a plastic bag containing bloody clothes. This showed that there was an attempt to dispose of incriminating evidence. Not to mention, the clothes matched Janice's size. The police weren't the only ones investigating the murders. Netizens were very interested in the case and expressed concern for what Cruz and Lavella were experiencing. Many questioned whether it was really a home invasion. The crime happened in broad daylight, which is unusual. In addition, there was no forced entry. So how did the perpetrators get inside the house? More importantly, why did no one hear the screams? To the netizens, it seemed more like an organized murder committed by a person or persons who knew the family really well. Many suspected Janice. Her odd behavior, including the fact that she was able to write posts on Facebook using emojis without any spelling or grammatical errors, was highly suspicious. Moreover, when people tried calling her and replied to her request for help, she never responded. It didn't take long for the online community to start sharing information they had unearthed about Janice. Someone discovered a post about Janice that was made on September 22nd, 2013. A woman posted a photo online of an 8-year-old girl whom she found alone on a ship. The little girl had told her that her name was Janice Sebial and that her parents' names were Michelle and Juanito Sebial. It is unclear whether she was abandoned or if she was truly lost. Though she could provide her name as well as her parents, Janice claimed to have no memories of her life prior to that day. Unfortunately, no one came forward claiming to know the child. So, Janice was placed into the custody of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. According to reports, Janice stayed in various orphanages for around 8 years until a couple with 2 young children hired her as their live-in nanny. This couple were family friends of the Maguads. It was because of this couple that Janice was able to attend multiple events where she met Gwyn Maguad. Because of the closeness of their ages, the two quickly became the best of friends. They often posted videos on TikTok dancing together. Curious about her life, Gwyn asked Janice why she was working as a live-in nanny instead of going to school. That's when Gwyn found out that Janice had lost both her memory and her parents at the age of 8. Janice also told her about having to work all hours of the day and night, taking care of the children, cooking and cleaning, but still barely earning any money. So, she actually had no chance of getting an education and giving herself a chance at a better life. Gwyn felt bad for Janice and, along with the help of her brother, pleaded with her parents to adopt her. The couple initially refused this request. After all, they were public school teachers and had a limited income. They also lacked space in their home for another person. Boy then offered his own room, stating that he could just sleep on the couch in the living room. Eventually, the couple relented and took in Janice. They felt that maybe this was their purpose. On July 2021, the Maguads officially adopted the 17-year-old Janice. She took their last name and was enrolled in school. Perhaps living a life with no security had left its mark on her, so she stole $200 from the family. The Maguads didn't really think that she stole the money at first, but because it was an emergency fund that the family needed to use at the time, this was during COVID, they were frantically searching the entire house for it. And by accident, they found the money inside Janice's backpack. The money was inside a secret pocket that Janice had sewn at the bottom of the pack. Despite this, the Maguads continued to treat Janice as part of the family. They understood that her life experience had caused her to need to have some sort of security. So, they comforted her and made a huge effort to give her a sense of belonging. Things seemed to be going well. At least that was what the Maguads thought. According to Lavella, they never saw anything unusual in Janice's behaviour. She was nice and very respectful to them. Janice often helped her carry things inside the house as soon as she came home. She even helped cook meals in the house. They didn't know that beneath all the happy smiles and loving care was a heart that raged with jealousy and resentment. A few days after the murders, Lavella found a contact tracing form inside Janice's room. This form is used to register visitors and non-residents entering the province of South Cotabato during COVID-19. The form contained a QR code. Thinking that it might be helpful to the investigation, she gave it to the police, who discovered that the form belonged to a 17-year-old boy. Since he is a minor, he was given the name Marlon. According to witnesses, Marlon was seen on his way to the Maguad house on the day of the incident. He had even asked one of the neighbours for directions on how to get to the house. A motorcycle rider also came forward, stating that he gave Marlon a ride to the Maguad house. Laboratory tests conducted on the weapons also produced results pointing to Janice. Her fingerprints were found on the murder weapons. 3 days after the murders, Janice finally admitted that she was one of the people responsible for the crimes, and Marlon was her accomplice. Janice was jealous of Gwyn and resentful of the love that the family showered on her. She wanted to be the only daughter of the family. After the confession, the police accessed her social media and discovered that she had been in contact with her biological mother for quite some time. She also had been messaging a 17-year-old altar boy whom she had met in church. She had convinced him to help her murder her siblings in exchange for money. They chatted about the murders days before the incident. According to Janice, the plan was that she distracted Gwyn inside the room while Marlon tied up Boy Boy, who was sleeping in the living room. When they heard Boy Boy scream, Gwyn tried to run out, but Janice stopped her, stating that she didn't want Gwyn to get hurt. So Gwyn forced her way out and ran to the back door to get help. When Gwyn noticed that Janice wasn't behind her, she ran back. She told Janice that they should run and get help. Janice pretended to be so afraid that she couldn't move. Gwyn tried so hard to pull her out of the house. If she hadn't gone back to the house to get Janice, she would likely have been able to get help, and she would still be alive today. Unfortunately, as she was trying to get Janice to leave, Marlon grabbed her and then stabbed her. With Janice's help, Marlon dragged Gwyn back into the house, where they continued to stab her and hit her with the bat as well as the hammer. According to Janice, Gwyn's last words were, "This is just a dream. This is just a dream. I am still going to be a doctor. I don't know what wrong I did to you. Janice, I love you very much." On December 16th, the police in Kidapawan City conducted a drug operation at a suspect's home with the help of a search warrant. They found drugs as well as a cell phone. It turned out that the suspect they had arrested was Marlon, and the phone belonged to Gwyn. On December 18th, Marlon confessed to the crime. Because Janice and Marlon were both minors, they couldn't be arrested and charged for the murders according to the juvenile law. They were placed in the custody of the DSWD until they reached the age of 18. In May 2022, the two were sentenced to 17 years for each murder, a total of 34 years in prison. The Maguads were disheartened and hoped for the maximum sentence, especially since Janice never showed any signs of remorse throughout the trial. She also never asked for forgiveness. In fact, she even glared at them across the courtroom. At the sentencing, Janice even had the audacity to laugh at the Maguads. It's disheartening when one's kindness and generosity is repaid by betrayal and murder. The Maguad's once tight-knit happy family is now broken, missing two essential pieces that can never be put back together. And though they have made strides towards healing, some scars still remain. Lovella Maguad, in particular, has become quite cynical, even warning the public not to underestimate young children aged 18 and under because they have, in her words, manipulative skills, the power to destroy other children, good children, promising children. The tragic story of the Maguad family is a stark reminder of how trust can be shattered in an instant. As we remember Gwyn and Boy Boy, we pray for healing for their grieving family. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more true crime stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe,